There is a unique silence in deep space. It's not the peaceful, serene sort of silence that poets back on Earth used to imagine. No, this was the silence of being abandoned, of life teetering on the edge of an airless, star-forsaken void. It is the silence that Lieutenant Kayla Voss now knew intimately well, strapped inside a broken escape pod, her breath fogging up a cracked visor. She was the last survivor. The Vireo, a diplomatic frigate dispatched to negotiate the Surin conflict ceasefire, never had a chance. 3 minutes after dropping out of hyperspace, their ship was ambushed. No warning. No chatter. Just a wall of energy lances and concussive impacts. Hull breached. Systems died. Crew died faster. Kayla's last memory before the pod ejected was Commander Hillock's face covered in blood, shouting something she couldn't hear over the decompression alarms. Then stars. Cold. And that damn silence. The pod had drifted far from the wreckage, half its systems damaged, the beacon flickering intermittently. It had been days. Maybe more. Time bent strangely when your only companion was a dying life support gauge and the endless churn of your own thoughts. Kayla had once trained as a combat medic before switching to diplomatic corps duty. She knew how long a human body could last under duress. She knew she was nearing the end of that curve. But even then, she wasn't ready to die. She checked the power status again. Down to 3%. Oxygen rationing was already beyond sustainable levels. She tried every frequency on the comms array. No response. Not from Earth. Not from the nearby Elorian colonies. Not even from pirates who at least might have given her a fighting chance. That's when the ping came. Just a single blip. Kayla sat up so fast her helmet cracked into the overhead console. Her vision blurred momentarily. When it cleared, she stared, unsure if it was real. A contact. Faint. Not near. But moving, fast. She squinted at the spectrum. It wasn't Elorian. It wasn't Union-coded. Hell, it wasn't even close to any known transponder tags. But it was coming. And for the first time in days, Kayla's heart dared to hope. 12 hours earlier, somewhere between systems. The Vindicator was not meant to exist. Its registry had been scrubbed. Its builders executed or reassigned. Its AI compartmentalized to near-insane levels of encryption. It was, in effect, a ghost, whispered about in the darkest corners of galactic intelligence. It was also very real. Captain Riker Sol stood at the observation platform, arms crossed behind his back, watching as the stars smeared into lines. The warp field around the ship vibrated with a frequency only the AI could truly interpret. To a human, it felt like being pressed against the inside of a storm cloud. Time to exit FTL? Riker asked. 18 seconds, replied the AI, a smooth feminine voice laced with reverb. Target coordinates confirmed. Distress signal intermittent. Origin uncertain. Riker narrowed his eyes. Hostile territory? Most likely. Last reports suggest Elorian-backed raiders frequent the sector. But this beacon, it's Union standard. He let the silence hang. Survivors? 1. Pod signature indicates a human life form. Biometric data is erratic. Life support nearing critical failure. Then let's not waste time. The Vindicator snapped out of faster-than-light travel with a boomless arrival. The wake shimmered as its sleek black hull emerged into a void scattered with debris and bent light. The remnants of a frigate drifted dead ahead, or rather what was left of one. The hull plating bore the scars of heavy plasma bombardment. No survivors. No transmissions. The ship had died in silence just like so many others before it. But one signal remained. There, the AI said. Escape pod. Vectoring toward open space. Low emissions profile. Almost invisible if you didn't know where to look. Riker leaned forward, tension building. Lock tractor. Bring it in. End prep medical. As the blackened escape pod was reeled into the massive belly of the Vindicator, he felt a strange chill settle over him. Whoever was inside, they'd survived something horrific. And he suspected this was only the beginning. Present time, medical bay. Kayla awoke to a sharp hiss. Then, light. Too bright. Too clean. Her senses reeled as sterile air filled her lungs, tinged with antiseptics and cinnamon. Her eyes fluttered open. The ceiling above wasn't from a Union ship. It was darker, plated with unfamiliar alloys, everything sharp angles and glowing lines. She was in a medical pod. Alive. Barely. A silhouette moved beside her. She flinched, instinctively reaching for a sidearm that wasn't there. Easy, a deep voice said. You're safe. She focused. A tall man in a dark, non-standard military uniform stood watching her with unreadable eyes. His presence exuded authority, the kind that didn't need rank insignias to prove command. Where am I?" she croaked. "Classified," he replied. "But you're on a human ship. One that shouldn't exist." Kayla blinked. "Shouldn't?" He nodded. "The Vindicator. Ghost ship. Off the books. You're lucky our AI caught your signal." She stared at him. "Who are you?" "Captain Riker Sol. And you?" "Lieutenant Kayla Voss, formerly of the Vireo. Last survivor." Her heart clenched. "Then it's true. They're all?" He nodded grimly. "Gone." Kayla looked away. Tears welled in her eyes. For her friends. Her commander. For everything lost in that unprovoked slaughter. "Why would they ambush a diplomatic vessel?" she whispered. "That's what I intend to find out." Somewhere in deep space, Raider convoy Scourge fleet. General Vral of the Elorian separatists paced the command bridge of the Tar. The ambush had gone perfectly. The Union frigate destroyed. No survivors. And now their plan could proceed. The Union was fractured. Weakened. Its military focused on border conflicts elsewhere. No one would care about one diplomat ship. Or so they thought. "Sir," one of the officers barked. "New readings. Deep field scans show a vessel approaching. Fast." Vral turned. "Union?" "No. No transponder. No matching profile." "Stealth, sir." "We nearly missed it." "Stealthed?" Vral's 4 eyes narrowed. "Is it broadcasting anything?" "No, sir. Just heading straight toward the site of the Vireo's wreckage." A long silence fell. Vral was no fool. He'd seen what the humans could build when pushed. "Sound the alert," he growled. "And deploy recon drones." Because somewhere, deep in his predator's brain, a primal fear stirred. Something was coming. And it wasn't afraid of war. Captain Eli was still trembling from the audio transmission. "Confirmed identity?" he asked, staring at the communications officer who now looked pale and slightly terrified. "Multiple cross-checks done, sir. The voice pattern matches archived human databanks. Syntax, tone, even the sarcasm levels. It's human." Eli's mind reeled. There were no humans in this sector. Earth had been silent for over a century, more like a cautionary tale than a participant in galactic affairs. The last time anyone had seen a Terran vessel, it was during the Trillion Revolt, and that ship had vanished in the Messier expanse. "Pull all sensor data," he ordered. "Every second. Every angle. I want to see where the hell that warship came from." The tactical officer replayed the sensor logs. Static. Then, in the span of a single blink, there it was. As if someone had turned on a cosmic light switch, the silhouette of the human warship materialized between asteroids, its angular frame glowing with deep red engine burns and low-signal hull flickers. It didn't jump in," whispered the sensor officer. "There's no warp signature, no wormhole eddies, no beacon displacement. It just appeared." "That's not possible," said Eli. And yet it was. The warship, if it could be called that, bore no resemblance to standard galactic naval construction. Its hull plating was jagged and irregular, as though forged in a cosmic furnace and hammered into place by madmen. No symmetry, no elegance, just raw utilitarian aggression. It pulsed, an eerie rhythmic beat like a living heart. Then it moved. Eli's bridge crew froze. Not because it drifted closer, but because their sensors failed to register any movement. The ship didn't accelerate or thrust. It simply redefined where it was. One moment here, then there. As if space had politely moved aside to accommodate it. The warship's hull lit with red glowing symbols, ancient Terran script, barely decipherable, but the words held one truth: retribution. Eli turned toward the medical bay feed on the bridge monitor. Dr. Yelna, the Icarian trauma surgeon they'd rescued earlier, was now upright in bed, her fractured mandibles twitching as her multiple eyes zeroed in on the screen. "That ship," she said weakly. "It responded to my distress call?" "No," Eli said quietly. "It responded to the call of vengeance." The warship hailed again. This time there was video. The screen came alive with a shadowed bridge, dark, blood-red emergency lights revealing the silhouette of a lone figure standing at the helm. Humanoid. Tall. Motionless. The face obscured beneath a worn black helmet, the old Earth flag scorched into the shoulder plating. No insignia. No diplomatic credentials. Just a single line of transmission, cold and direct. "Broadcast your enemy's coordinates. And step aside." Eli hesitated. The enemy in question, the Traugoth Raiders, were still patrolling the far side of the asteroid field. Their victory had been all but assured. Hundreds of refugee ships destroyed. No aid. No fleet support. The Galactic Union had marked them expendable. But not this ship. Not this captain. Eli entered the coordinates. Transmission sent, he said, voice barely above a whisper. The human ship did not reply. It simply vanished. Not cloaked. Not phased. Just gone, like a thought leaving the mind. Moments later, every sensor in Eli's fleet screamed. Bursts of gravitational spikes. Radiation blooms. Distortion waves. Contact, the tactical officer shouted. Multiple contacts. No, wait, it's just one ship. It's cutting through the Tralgoth formation. The monitor came alive. Live feeds from long-range drones showed the human warship weaving through the enemy fleet like a ghost possessed. No shields. No standard weapons fire. Instead, space bent around it. Enemy ships ignited and controlled explosions, cut cleanly through the center as though dissected by scalpel-sized black holes. Others simply collapsed, their own energy cores folding inward. It's not using weapons, the science officer murmured. It's using localized gravitational anomalies. Micro-singularities. Pinpoint event horizons. Eli could only stare. The Tralgoth fleet, over 300 ships strong, had become a field of wreckage within 4 minutes. Only one ship remained. The command dreadnought. And the human warship paused. Broadcast flickered across every channel. A universal signal, forced onto all frequencies, even civilian bandwidths. The human voice returned. To the Tralgoth High Warlord, you harmed those under Terran protection. You breached old treaties. You believed Earth was silent. Let this remind you, silence is not weakness. Then the screen went black again. The final Tralgoth vessel tried to flee. It didn't get far. The human warship stretched, literally stretched, its midsection elongating into a shape never seen in ship design. A beam of black light, not dark but anti-light, lashed out, not with a sound but a deep harmonic hum that resonated through every bone of every being watching. The Tralgoth dreadnought was erased. Not destroyed. Not exploded. Erased. As if its presence in spacetime had never been allowed. Silence followed. Then the warship reappeared next to Eli's fleet, hovering just within visual range. Another transmission. The Terran Protectorate recognizes your effort to shield survivors. Continue to evacuate. We will ensure no further interference. Then the ship turned. And began gliding deeper into uncharted space. Eli watched, breath caught in his chest. Where is it going? Someone asked. But there was no answer. Because they all knew. Wherever humans had gone, they had not forgotten the galaxy. And now the galaxy would remember them. The silence that followed the last echo of the warship's salvo was not peace. It was the sound of thousands of beings across enemy ships realizing they had miscalculated. On board the surviving enemy command cruiser, Admiral Drax slammed one chitinous fist into the tactical console. Identify that human vessel, he bellowed, mandibles quivering with rage. I want its specs, fleet designation, command structure, everything. But the console's response was as humiliating as it was chilling. No record found. Drakus second in command, Commander Velen, stared blankly at the holographic projection of the ship. Sir, it's not transmitting IFF. No registry data. It's as if it doesn't exist. It exists, Drax snarled. Because it's destroying us. Outside, the warship moved like no other ship in the galaxy, its propulsion systems silent, untraceable. It didn't fire traditional beams or torpedoes. It emitted pulses of sheer gravitational displacement that collapsed enemy hulls like paper. It didn't pursue its targets, it allowed them to run, only to appear in front of them seconds later, waiting. Inside the ship, Captain Kira Nox's gaze remained fixed on the battlefield as readouts scrolled across the visor of her neural-linked command implant. Targeting priority, enemy fleet carriers. Begin Phase 2. Confirmed, replied the ship's AI, a voice as calm as death. Phase 2, retaliation protocols engaged. Kira barely moved, but the ship responded instantly. It fractured reality around it, entering localized quantum slips, materializing alongside carrier after carrier. Each time, it emerged from thin space like a reaper, unloading precisely enough force to rupture the core of its targets, then vanishing before any return fire could track it. Back in the wreckage-strewn void where Captain Arrow and his stranded crew floated helplessly aboard the gutted Mantis Cry, they could only watch in stunned awe. "You seeing this?" whispered Lieutenant Harper, her voice barely audible over the failing comms. Arrow stood at the edge of the viewport, knuckles white against the frame. "I see it. I just don't believe it. Who the hell is flying that ship?" Arrow didn't answer immediately. He recognized the configuration. Not from any classified archive or debriefing, but from a single conversation long ago on Earth. He'd been drinking in a battered outpost bar when a retired engineer, grizzled and bitter, spoke of a prototype. A ship the Council had rejected as too dangerous, too human. Project Acheron. "It was real," Arrow muttered. "They built it after all." Harper frowned. "Who's they?" Arrow turned slowly. "The ones who stopped waiting for permission." Elsewhere, amidst a mangled Corvette wreck, a transmission was finally picked up. A desperate plea from the enemy side, scrambled and erratic. "This is Commander Coral of the Zindar Collective. Our command structure has collapsed. Multiple ships lost. Do not engage the unidentified human vessel. Repeat, do not engage. Retreat." The message cut off. Inside the human warship, Kira arched a brow. "Open channel." The AI complied. Kira's voice went out across the sector. Broadcast not just in standard galactic, but laced with an encoded signature that had not been used in over 50 years. One every enemy admiral remembered from the Terranlochter conflict. "This is Captain Kira Noct of the UNS Grave Dancer. You struck down helpless medics. You attacked our rescue fleet. You left them to die in the dark." She paused, eyes narrowing. "But we never die in the dark. We learn in the dark. And then we become it." The transmission ended. No further words were necessary. The next 15 minutes were not war. They were demolition. Inside the command heart of the Grave Dancer, the AI spoke. "Sensor sweep complete. All enemy resistance eliminated. Status of UNS rescue vessel Mantis Cry remains critical." Kira turned to the secondary command interface. "Prepare extraction drones. I want Captain Arrow and all surviving personnel on board. Full medical protocol." "And the wreckage?" the AI asked. "Destroy anything that could be reverse engineered. No salvage." The AI hesitated. "Commander, that includes 37 enemy escape pods. Life signs confirmed." Kira's eyes didn't waver. "No survivors. Not this time." Outside, the Grave Dancer fired one last time, not with aggression but with clinical finality. Each escape pod was vaporized in perfect synchrony. The message was unmistakable. No quarter. Back aboard the Mantis Cry, the hull groaned as docking clamps from the Grave Dancer engaged. Automated drones flooded inside, lifting wounded crew with surgical precision. Captain Arrow was the last to be retrieved. As he was wheeled through the hangar bay of the mysterious warship, he saw the crew, or what passed for them. Men and women in armor too advanced to be standard issue. Each bore no insignia. Only one thing marked them. A stylized black coin, etched over their hearts. He looked up as a figure approached. She removed her helmet slowly. "Kira?" Arrow blinked. "You're dead. They said you died in the Jovian riots." Kira smiled grimly. "I got better." He chuckled weakly. "You flying a ghost ship now?" Her face turned hard again. "Not a ghost, Arrow. A consequence." They shared a look. The kind only survivors could. "Rest," she said. "We're not done yet." As medics whisked him away, Kira turned to the central console. "Bring up the next zone," she ordered. "The ones who greenlit this ambush still think Earth is silent." The AI flickered to life again. "New coordinates locked. Shall I inform command?" She smirked. "No need. They'll hear the thunder." The Grave Dancer exited the sector like a phantom, leaving behind nothing but irradiated wreckage and a silence that trembled with meaning. Every long-range sensor, every recon probe still functioning on the fringes of the war zone, all recorded the impossible. A single Terran warship had dismantled an entire invasion armada. But it wasn't over. Inside the bridge, Kira stood before the main hollow as the next target flared into view. The Tashvel Accord, one of the alien coalitions that had funded the blockade and authorized the kill-on-sight order against human survivors. Stealth envelope stabilized. Insertion vector confirmed, the AI reported. "How long until we're in strike range?" 17 minutes. "Shall I initiate silence protocols?" Kira nodded, but her eyes remained cold. "Let them never see us coming." Again. She turned from the console and walked down the silent corridor of the warship. As she passed through rows of cryopods, each containing injured Terran crew members rescued from the Mantis Cry, she paused at one. Captain Arrow. He was unconscious, but his vitals were steady. Healing. He'd been a symbol once. One of the few voices in the Galactic Council who had tried diplomacy, even after humanity's exile. He was laughed at, mocked, called a primitive from a burned world. And yet here he was, saved by a weapon the galaxy claimed was a myth. Saved by a woman they declared dead. Saved by a ship no database acknowledged. It was poetic. And it wasn't going to stop here. Kira's comm clicked. Incoming encrypted signal, the AI said. It's human origin. Very old frequency. She froze. Patch it through. The screen lit up with static. Then a voice spoke. Male, gravel-thick, familiar. Captain knocked. This is General Ammonius Reyes. You're officially off the leash. Her breath caught. We've seen your data drops. The Council's already panicking. The Altherian Ministry has called an emergency assembly. The CH-Rec fleets are pulling back from 4 sectors. She grinned. Nice to know they're scared. We've got more targets for you. And something else. You'll want to see this. There was a pause. Earth's awake, Kira. She's not hiding anymore. The screen went black. For a moment, silence returned to the bridge. Then, AI opened the sealed vault. Authorization Kilo 9 Echelon. Vault access granted. The armored wall slid open with a hiss. Behind it rested a single object, a black case pulsing faintly with the red glow of dormant energy. She approached slowly. This weapon wasn't for killing fleets. Not directly. It was for sending a message. Inside, cradled in a magnetic stasis field, was the last remaining Oblivion seed. A weapon designed to erase the data of entire civilizations from the galactic net. Not just destroy ships or planets, but erase records, history, identities. You attacked us because you thought we were weak, Kira whispered. You thought we were gone. She lifted the seed. Now we'll make sure you're forgotten. The Grave Dancer arrived in Tashvel space under cloak. The Accord's fleets, fat with power, clustered in celebratory formations, were already broadcasting their victory over the last human resistance. They hadn't yet received word of the ambush's failure. Inside the warship, targeting systems locked onto relay satellites, communications hubs, diplomatic beacons. Deploy the seed, Kira said. With a flicker, the weapon launched, an invisible bolt of anti-information, riding along quantum subcurrents, slipping past every firewall and shield. It detonated silently. Across the entire Accord's domain, screens went blank. Archives flickered and vanished. Government records collapsed into corruption. Star maps were wiped clean. When the fleets turned to respond, their weapons wouldn't lock. Their command chains fractured. Their AI cores entered failsafe. It wasn't a warhead. It was extinction. By the time the Grave Dancer left orbit, the Tashvel Accord no longer existed on any official record in the galaxy. Back on the ship, the AI offered a calm report. Oblivion confirmed. 6 million data cores neutralized. Accord presence, 0. Kira didn't smile. She just turned to the map again. Next. It didn't take long before word spread, not officially, not through newsnets or diplomatic channels, but in hushed whispers among smugglers, mercenaries, black market dealers, and soldiers on backwater posts. The Terrans are back. They sent one ship. And it's enough. Fear swept through the stars like wildfire. Entire species who once laughed at humanity now turned their vessels away from Earth's borders. Some tried to send reparations. Others deleted their own records of involvement in the war, hoping to escape judgment. But you cannot run from a shadow that lives in the silence between stars. The Grave Dancer hunted. Not for sport. Not for glory. For retribution. Months later, deep within a remote council fortress built into the crust of a dying planet, a meeting of the last surviving leaders took place. One of them, a former High Chancellor of the Unified Core Worlds, trembled as he stared at the latest report. They've dismantled the Valric Syndicate. They erased the Traitors Guild from planetary memory. They breached the Exarch archives. What do they want? Another alien asked, voice shaking. A silence. Then a new voice answered, one that didn't come from any of them. It came from the console. Kira's voice. You asked what humans wanted. She appeared on the screen, helmet off, eyes cold and tired. We wanted to be left alone. You laughed at that. The lights dimmed. Now you'll be left with nothing. The screen went dark. Then the fortress exploded. No survivors. Far away, Earth bloomed under the light of its recovering star. Children played again in the cities once scorched. The skies were patrolled not by fleets of war but by guardians. But in the dark corners of space, the grave dancer moved still, waiting. Because some threats don't end. And some ghosts don't rest. You just experienced another Void narrative. If you want more stories like this, where humanity turns from underdog to unstoppable legend, make sure to subscribe to the channel. New tales every week. Brutal. Bold. Unforgettable. Subscribe now, before the next war begins.